Well, hello and welcome to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection since 1991. I'm Pete Connor, your show's host, and we're going to have a couple of good segments today, good information. One is sort of a timely thing always, the Human Rights Commission, and we've got Dave Emanuelson and Fred Ventura from the Commission to be with us, and then we'll be on a conversation with Susan Siegle regarding Alzheimer's disease and dementia. So you'll want to stay tuned for both of these segments. As always, we appreciate your feedback about what you see on Owatonna Today. So if you have some ideas about people and or things that need recognition and a little spotlight, why don't you let us know about that? You can send an email to owatonnatoday@charter.net or give Leanne a call at 390-5751. We'd love to hear from you. Now we're going to take a quick break from some of our sponsor messages, and we'll be right back with the guys. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Dr. Beth Giltvet.
And I'm Dr. Nick Vincelli of Horizon Eye Care.
We want you to see what you love and love how you see. We're proud sponsors of the Owatonna Today Show.
Welcome back to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection, and welcome to the guys. Dave, Fred.
Good morning.
From the Human Rights Commission of Owatonna. Thanks for being with us this morning and telling us about what's going on with the commission and some things about you guys, specifically Dave, because Dave, you're a relatively new member.
Correct.
Yeah, so why don't you give us a little thumbnail as to
All right.
why you're here?
Sure, you bet. First of all, this is an unexpected pleasure. Pete, you've helped me out and introduced me to city government 20-some years ago. I have worked on the Public Utilities Commission in the past.
Okay.
But I haven't done anything citywide for a while. I've lived in Owatonna since 1985. Sure. 3 children. My wife is Cindy. Children are college age, basically. And I joined my youngest graduated a couple of years ago, so it was time to kind of get involved again. And I went and talked to Tom and thought I would get involved with the Human Rights Commission. Yeah. Particularly why, to be honest, is watching things that happened during the last election and without going into it, the results of the election got me a little concerned, and I thought I want to get involved and do what I can for it.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So.
I've been on it since March, and some of the goals that I have, try to get the Human Rights Commission known more within the community. I know it is known by a good number of people, but not as well as it could be. So I've been trying to identify some minority and other leaders in the community, representatives, and try to let them know we're there and periodically update them, ask them, is there anything we should be aware of? Let them know we're here. That's kind of a weakness of me. I don't have a lot of experience with the minority community. Sure. Most of the places I go and talk to, in the end, they say hello to Fred for me. So he's much known better. But to try to be a bit, get a better pulse on any issues out there. Okay. You know, there's a lot going on nationally. Yeah. What's going on locally? Is there DACA or other immigration or other concerns? Sure. Our commission, we don't investigate. But we should be a conduit. We should know who to tell them to contact, whether it be the city council or someone from the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. Right. So that's one of my goals. Just to get to know some people. We are working on a number of other things that Fred's going to talk about. Sure. One of the things that we've talked about for a while is a welcome center. Austin has a welcome center. Northfield has a welcome center. Now Owatonna Forward, the project that's going on, they're going to lead in looking at a welcome center. What can we do for that?
Sure. Okay. So it's a collaborative, on that one at any rate, a collaborative effort.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe on other things as well. Fred, Dave, well, anyway, good. Thanks for consenting to be a member of the
Yeah.
commission, you know.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they can be a little smooth, but sometimes maybe not, you know. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a little issue, some issues that come forward that take some real thought and
Well,
action.
To be honest, I hope some tough issues come
Yeah,
forward. I mean, we want to know what's going out there, either good or bad,
Yeah.
and we want people to know that we are available
Right.
more than anything.
Good, excellent. You know, and I think too, Fred, correct me if I'm wrong, the commission is not only interested in diversity kinds of issues as it pertains to race and culture, but there are other things that come under the heading of human rights as well, that the commission can also hear. And you're not enforcement, as Dave, I think,
Right.
alluded to.
Not per se, but we can investigate certain issues and pass it along to the appropriate people, like the city council, as Dave alluded to, and or go directly to Department of Human Rights in St. Paul, Minnesota.
An advocate on behalf of?
Absolutely,
someone?
yeah.
Okay.
And that actually, there's some training that some of the members are going to on the 4th with the Department of Human Rights.
All right. Speaking of membership, how many now on the commission?
7,
7 full?
Full.
Full commission.
we have
okay.
a full commission.
Very well. And I don't think the last time you were here you had a full commission at that time.
I think we did,
Right,
actually.
maybe?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Good. Meeting times, let's kind of put that detail
Sure, it's
on the
the
table.
second Tuesday of every month,
Okay.
5:30 at the City Administration Building,
All right.
second floor.
Well, meeting room upstairs.
Right.
Okay. And it's a public meeting?
Public, open to the public.
Anybody can come.
Right.
All right.
I've been on the commission almost 5 years. I've never held a closed meeting yet.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So it's
that's a
always
good
open
thing,
to the
Fred.
public,
That's a good
right.
thing, yeah, right. Well, as we consider things in terms of social, you know, the presence of our society in Owatonna, it's always changing. You know, we have people coming and going all the time.
Yep.
Are you guys, are you members of the commission hearing from folks on any issues, anything that's glaring or burning right now that you're aware of?
No, not really.
Nothing.
And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to develop a list of minority representatives, leaders, and so we're going to go out and contact them every 3 months and say what's going on. Is there anything we need to be aware of? And we're making some progress in identifying the people. But
Well, you know,
to me, that's a concern. We should be hearing something. Now, and I'm not saying there's something out there
yeah.
by any means.
Well, there is the old adage of no news is good news,
Yeah,
you know, but sometimes that belies the real news.
right.
Yeah.
And if we were approached, we'd be happy to share it with
Yeah.
you, but we have not been approached
Sure.
by anyone in the community.
Well, we have two larger, you know, so-called minority communities. We have the Somali community, we have the Hispanic community.
Correct.
But there would be other communities per se that
Absolutely.
perhaps we don't. So maybe an Asian community or others who are coming from, you know, other places that maybe you're aware of that, or maybe not, as the case is.
Right.
So the point is that anybody who is seeing this, you know, surely would have the news to pass on
Right.
to someone, and you know, for the purposes of getting in touch with you guys.
Absolutely. That's what we want to be known as, someone who's always there
Yeah.
to hear any concerns from any group
Very well.
concerning, you know, human rights.
Sure.
So,
And it might help. It might come from top down. The mayor might hear something that he wants to pass on to
Correct.
you folks as well.
oh, absolutely. I mean, I think if we were to, well, Fred is well in touch with a lot of the minority communities. I'm not. Obviously, the mayor is
Yeah.
a lot more.
Sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the projects, maybe some of the newer ones that you guys are looking at and are hoping are going to catch some fire and, you know, bring that message out.
What I like to do before we get into that,
Yeah.
on a more serious note
Go
right
for
now,
it. Yeah, go ahead.
as a chair of the Owatonna Human Rights Commission, and for the citizens of Steele County and Owatonna, we'd like to offer our condolences to the 50 people who were killed in Las Vegas, shooting last night, and the 200 who were injured, and possibly many of them are in critical condition. It's a horrific act that happened last night, and our heartfelt sympathy of all our citizens go out to all those people.
Well put,
in
thank
Nevada.
you. Thank you, yeah, thank you for that.
So to get back to your question now,
Yeah,
okay, one of the things I'm really very proud of is with the help and assistance of our city attorney, our council, and our city administrator, we were able to update our city ordinance specifically for the Owatonna Human Rights Commission. And what we did, we updated it to include a lot of protected classes. And I've been asked about what is a protected class, what are protected areas. But most recently, I've been hit very much with protected classes. So I just want to briefly go through what the protected classes are real quick. These are the protected classes, not protected areas, just the protected classes according to the state of Minnesota, which is included in our city ordinance now. Would be race, color, creed, religion, national origin, sex, gender to include whether a person is male or female, status of marriage, disability, public assistant, age, sexual orientation, whether someone is thought to be or is gay or lesbian, straight, bisexual, or transgender, what their family status is. And what this is, our commission has been able to rewrite our city ordinance. And briefly, it's going to say to promote the elimination of hate, prejudice, discrimination against persons or groups based on race, color, gender, creed, religion, national origin, sex, or marital status, disabilities, status with regard to public assistance, sexual orientation as defined in the Minnesota statute. So this is now part of our ordinance.
right. Well, to the point of the Human Rights Commission being more than just a representative for minority groups, it's a much broader
Correct.
Group of our population than that, can be, right?
Yep.
So, well, I think that what you've just said is a great overview and a great entrance for anyone who is viewing today, who is aware of that they have an opportunity to come to see you folks.
Oh, absolutely.
Every second Tuesday, and hopefully you'll get some folks to ask some questions about what they can expect here. So thank you for being
Yep,
here.
thank you for having us.
Yeah.
You bet. Thank you. Quick shout out to Culture Fest that was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Good.
And very interesting.
Excellent. Good. Well, thanks again for being here with us, and we'll look forward to having you back before too long. And thank you for being with us. We're going to take some time for some commercial messages, and they'll be right back. So please stay tuned.
Amy Swain Hearing Centers is a proud sponsor of the Owatonna Today Show. I'm Dr. Amy Swain, and I want everyone to hear better.
Recreational fires are allowed within the Owatonna city limits. They must be contained within a fire pit or a device designed for such use, and can be 3 feet in diameter and no more than 3 feet high. They must be 25 feet from a building or combustibles. Only untreated or unpainted woods must be used. Fires must be attended by a person at all times that are capable of extinguishing the fire. This has been a safety tip from the Owatonna Fire Department.
Hi, I'm Betsy Linger from the Owatonna Foundation. Your generosity has made Owatonna a better place to live by benefiting our community, the arts, recreation, and education. Please consider a donation today. The Owatonna Foundation is a proud sponsor of the Owatonna Today Show.
At Triumph Graphics, we think beyond ink. That's why you should make us your source for creative concept, design, print, mail, and web. Check us out today at triumphgraphics.com.
Owatonna Public Utilities, real people, real reliable, real progress. Making life a little easier day after day, taking pride in our community, listening to what you say, a voice you can talk to. We're growing with you in mind and every Owatonna Public Utilities.
Welcome back to the Owatonna Today Show, and we are here with Susan Siegle. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You come to the Owatonna Public Library, it sounds like on a monthly basis, because you give workshops on dementias and Alzheimer's.
Correct.
Correct, okay. So today we'd like to talk a little bit about when do you know or when do you recognize something is happening with your parents or maybe older sibling, and where do you go from there, kind of thing. Before we get into that, tell us what your background is.
Okay, so background-wise, I worked in memory care for 4 years with Sunrise Cottages, doing their admissions piece. Post that, I was the client services director at Channel 1 Food Bank for 4 years, and for the last 6.5 years, I have been with Heartland Hospice. So it's a broad background, working with a lot of older folks, and it's become a passion, and so hence I like to teach, and that's kind of what's led me down this path.
So today, and we're filming this a couple of weeks prior to where this is when this is actually airing, today you were talking about the various forms of dementia. And we're not going to go into that topic right now, but say, what is the first step with someone when you begin to suspect that maybe something isn't quite right?
Okay, when you start to suspect that something's not right, it's really good to get an appointment with that person's regular family doctor, and you go on the appointment with them. Ask for time ahead of time if you can meet with the doctor a little bit before your loved one goes in, or if you can stay in the room a little bit afterwards, because a lot of times they're either not aware of the problem or are in denial of the problem, and so they'll brush it off at the appointment, and the doctor is looking at you like, well, I'm not really sure why we're here today and what we're talking about. So, you call ahead and you ask for just a little bit of time, or give them the history on the phone if they're willing to take it that way, so that they know what you're seeing and what they're potentially looking at when you get to that appointment with your loved one.
Okay. So what are some of the small signs that you should be aware of?
So small signs that you should be aware of are repetitiveness, telling the same story over and over. So in other words, maybe you heard this story when you visited yesterday, and now they're telling you the same story today. The repetitive piece, not managing their monetary affairs the way that they normally would.
Okay.
So if you're getting overdraft notices from a bank when you have a parent that's normally been meticulous about money, parent that are losing the checkbook, are saying, gosh, I think I had $20 in my wallet, but I'm not sure where it went. Those types of things are really good indicators. Changes in personality. So somebody that's normally a very patient person becoming impatient, that can be a really good sign that there's something going on. Changes in socialization. Somebody that liked to be involved in activities, whether it was out in the community, church activities, whatnot, who now really isn't wanting to go to meetings as much, not wanting to socialize with others, will put off good friends when they call to go for coffee or something like that. So it's just subtle little things that are out of character for that person.
Okay. Like for instance, if someone usually has a pretty even temper and then all of a sudden they just kind of fly off the handle for an amazingly trivial reason kind of thing.
Exactly. And when you're starting to see that in a pattern, so that that's happening more than just once, but it's starting to be something that's happening on a frequent basis, that's your sign that there's something going on there. Yeah.
Okay. So then what happens then? You go to the doctor and they give you a diagnosis, which is sort of nebulous, but they call it mild cognitive impairment. What does that mean?
Okay, so mild cognitive impairment means that they're not really going to label at that point exactly what type of dementia your loved one has, but what they're saying is that they have the start of some form of dementia. So it's the very early stages, it's the first signs and symptoms that there's something going on. And as a course of time progresses, they'll go ahead and try and label it with a specific type of dementia. For the most part, if you have the diagnoses of mild cognitive impairment, most folks that will transition into Alzheimer's. But then we also need to remember that 60 to 80% of the folks that are diagnosed with dementia, it will be Alzheimer's.
Okay. Okay. So at the very beginning then, if you receive this type of a diagnosis for your loved one, should you rush to put them into some type of memory care facility? I mean, they've lived independently, they're still living independently, they need perhaps more help in the grocery shopping aspect because their mobility isn't perhaps the best. I mean, when do you know when the right time is to seek other types of care?
Yeah. So unfortunately, there's not like this magic moment that we just know that it's time for other care. However, when somebody is diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment, this is the time to start really looking at what options are out there in terms of whether it would be an assisted living, a memory care, bringing in folks to help with cooking meals, companionship, that types of things. Someone who can stay overnight in terms of companion care. So it's looking into what's out there. In terms of knowing when, it's when you start to feel uncomfortable about your loved one being on their own in their current situation. So I usually tell folks that, if your gut feeling is telling you that your loved one's not safe in that particular situation, then it's time to bring in extra services or make a move to another, apartment or facility.
So what happens if you feel that you're uncomfortable with that, but in talking with your loved one, they feel, oh, I'm just fine here, I'm okay?
One of the things and one of the things we want to remember is for all of us as human beings, two things that are most important to us are independence and our dignity. And with mild cognitive impairment, your loved one knows there's something going on. They maybe won't admit it, maybe can't put their fingers on it, but they know there's something going on. And as soon as they admit that to you, that starts the affront on their independence, on their dignity, etc. So it's not always an easy thing to get them to accept help or to make a move, but that's where you work together as a family and talk about, how your loved one reacts to things, and then come up with a game plan with your family. You can involve clergy, you can involve your medical professionals, and you can involve folks that work with Alzheimer's or dementia patients in terms of folks that work in care communities or that bring in home services as well. So there's any number of folks you can involve in trying to make a plan, and then you've got to carry it out and just know that you do what's best for your loved one. And I hate to say it, but one of the beauties of memory loss is that what's very fresh in their mind one day will fade a little bit quicker than it would normally, and so the move will end up being a good thing in the long run.
In the long run. So you're sort of walking the tightrope a bit until they sort of tip over just enough to that one side where we can no longer bring people in to help, kind of thing. And then how do you, as the loved one, handle their anger?
It's hard. It's hard. A big part of it is you want to listen, yes, but if it becomes a point where they're fixated on it, you really need to learn to walk away from it. Redirection, trying to get them on to something else if you can, is a wonderful technique. We have support groups available here in Owatonna for family members of folks with Alzheimer's, and I encourage anybody, and it can be any type of dementia, not just Alzheimer's, but I encourage folks to explore the support groups. You're not alone, and it makes you feel a lot better if you know that your loved one's actions are really similar to what somebody else's loved one is doing. You don't feel so alone, and it normalizes the situation for you more.
And hopefully you can pick up extra tips and points. What strategies should you and your family be implementing, kind of thing? Like I said, how to handle the anger, how to handle perhaps the forgetfulness, kind of thing. And I suppose a lot of it is too, you just put your faith in God that you'll know what to do at the right time. But for certain investigate the options.
Absolutely. There's a ton of options out there, and it's one of those things until you need to use them. Most of us are unaware of the number of options that are out there. Senior Linkage Line can be a really good place to start. They're in the white pages in the phone book, or you can Google it, but they have resources for the greater Owatonna area as well as the whole state. So if you're looking at maybe having to make a move to a different community where a sibling is or something like that, they have a broad range of things that they can put at your disposal.
Okay, so go in with information so that you can make the best decision possible for your loved one. Okay. Well, Susan, I know the time has gone by very, very quickly, but thank you so much, especially for those people that are kind of facing the beginning of how to handle an aging parent or an aging sibling or other family members. So thank you so very much, and we appreciate you being on the Owatonna Today Show.
Thank you.
And audience members, please stay with us. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hi, my name is Dave Efforts with TPS Insurance. We're here to handle all your insurance needs. We are a very proud supporter of the Owatonna Today Show.
Welcome back to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection. There's some announcements that we'd like to pass on to you. The next evening support group for caregivers assisting people with Alzheimer's or another dementia will be on Tuesday the 3rd from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Owatonna Public Library's 3rd floor small conference room adjacent to the Gainey Room. Alzheimer's Association caregiver support groups are designed to provide emotional, educational, and social support for caregivers through regularly scheduled meetings. For more information, please contact Deb Gillard at 507-213-1305, email at gillard.deb@gmail.com. The Owatonna Public Library will be open Sundays beginning October 1st and running through the month of April. Sunday hours are 1 to 5 p.m. This is in addition to the regular hours of 9 to 9, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and 9 to 5, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. More information can be gotten by calling 444-2460 or visit the website at www.owatonna.info. Horizon Eye Care has a good savings on frames at its annual trunk show, Thursday, October 5th, 2017. Any prescription coming from any eye doctor is welcome. Horizon Eye Care Professionals at 2560 Harvest Lane Northwest, Owatonna. Phone number is 507-451-3072. And the 2017 Steele County Toys for Tots applications are available at various county locations starting on the 2nd at the following locations: Churches in Steele County, Crisis Resource Center, Minnesota Prairie Alliance, Owatonna Public Library, Salvation Army, Steele County Clothesline, Food Shelf, and Public Health. And parents and guardians must complete an application and put it in the drop box at Minnesota Prairie, County Alliance, or mail it to P.O. Box 199 in Owatonna. The application deadline is to qualify for a family for food, card, and toys is November 15th, and that'll wrap it up for today. We sure invite you to come back to be with us on Wednesday when we're going to have District Engineer, MnDOT's District Engineer Jeff Lamnick with us from District 6. That's our district. And we're going to devote both segments to that show. And so if you want to know about what's happening with respect to transportation, and I know everybody thinks Highway 14, come on back on Wednesday. We'll look forward to having you there. Thanks for being here today. Have a good couple of days. We'll see you soon.